It's just a You can't ask me about my bra and then just start taping.
I didn't know it was a bra. I thought it was like a bathing suit.
Why would I wear a bathing suit?
Why did you wear a halter bra?
Because I just needed to. It was on the floor.
It's cute.
Thank you.
I just thought it was a bathing.
It's 40 degrees. And we're doing a podcast. Yeah, sometimes I just put on my bathing suit.
I don't know what your crazy New York weather is like.
You pay attention.
It'd be hot as fuck. I wouldn't know. Like it's April.
I tell you what the weather is every day. Hi. Welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shada.
You really do get a little crazy with that record button. I feel like go ahead.
I'm like, let me get in there. I want to record. We're doing it. And then you're like, I'm still, oh God. Okay.
I saw pictures of Edinburgh. How was Edinburgh? And your hair straight. Hello.
It is. Hi. Yeah. So Edinburgh was cool. You
went vacation-y, right? Like went.
Yeah, it was like a vacation.
You didn't do shows.
I wasn't doing shows.
Okay.
Right. I met Johnny's sister and Johnny's sister's family. He's got 2 nieces. They're adorable. They're 6 and 2. And they are cute, but you know how I'm not like good with kids. Like it was fun because they had all these Nerf guns, like the biggest arsenal of Nerf guns I've ever seen. Like a problematic amount of Nerf guns. And
like if they were American kids, you're like, they need to see a psychologist.
Right. But like, because they're not American, they're Scottish. I was like, it's fine.
You're fine.
And when Johnny got there, like him and the older daughter, Emily, they have this like ongoing, like, I'm going to shoot and kill you game. So, before he even came in the door, he already had a gun in his hand. They were like, they played, and that's how I was introduced. And so some gunfire went back and forth for a while. And then, we were there for a few hours. The next thing I know, their 2-year-old Ruby had picked up one of the machine gun ones. Like this thing had like 36 bullets in it, propped and ready to go. And she just came through like Al Pacino and Scarface down the stairs, just like, say hello to my little friend. Bah, bah, bah. Just nobody was expecting it because we had finished the game hours ago.
That was her tactic. See, you can't. That's real thinking right there.
I know, that's some mafia shit. Next thing I know, her dad was taken out. But the cutest part was that like her face, whenever my face when I fired those bullets, where I was like, oh, this is fun. So she's like, ha! So she's just got this maniacal laugh while she's shooting all of us. And that's how the whole thing came to an end. Our very bloody end.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's good. I'm sorry you died in Edinburgh, but it sounds lovely.
Yeah. Johnny was like, after I said the Al Pacino reference, he was like, say hello to my me-sized friend, because the thing was as like long as she is tall.
Yeah. It was actually quite impressive that she could hold it and fire it.
Yeah, it was adorable and chaotic, but it was great. And and Edinburgh is such a beautiful city. You don't appreciate as much when you're in the thick of like doing an hour-long show every night after night after night. And
watching you lose all the money you've saved.
Yeah. And just the stress. But I mean, you still like know that Edinburgh is a nice city, but like not having any of that. And you're just like, oh, it's majestic. It's just a majestic place.
How did the festival start there? Like, I know it actually wasn't comedy first. I know it was like theater, right? Like,
yeah, I think it was just the Edinburgh Festival. And then all these fringe shows happened because they couldn't afford to be a part of the festival, or it was just hard to like be part of the actual festival. And so people just started putting their own shows on the outskirts of the festival. Then the Edinburgh Fringe Festival came to be a thing, and the main festival. And now that's too expensive. So there needs to be an Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Let's work on that.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is like, why Edinburgh? Especially why Edinburgh? Why August when it's the shittiest weather? Like everything about it just seems, when things happen in Florida, it makes sense to me somewhat, depending on the time of year, because it's warmer there and what have you. Or like there's certain places that it makes sense, but like it's the coldest, rainiest month.
Yeah.
In a place that has 6
Well,
houses.
I think August, because that's usually when people go on holiday from their job, is August.
Oh, maybe that's
I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why the fringe or the festival started then. And Edinburgh just is, I think literarily, theatrically, and it's just, there's a strong history there in Edinburgh, and maybe it just
Okay.
got big on its own, and even got, I never looked it up. I'm
Yeah.
actually talking out of my ass right now.
I love it though.
So if anybody
I
from
love a good
Edinburgh is
fake
listening
history.
and let me know. Let us
Yeah,
know.
let us know. We don't know. You know we don't know.
We know we don't know.
No, it looked beautiful, and it's funny because I've been there maybe only once. Now that I think about it, it was just the longest month of my life. I was like, have I been there multiple times? And I'm like, no, I think I've only been there once, and it was just like a hazy, long, drawn out month where I'm like, you were there, and you were there, you were there. Like it really was like a fever dream.
I remember I came to visit you on the third week of your hell month. In quite like in the thick of like, this is like, as far as a movie structure goes, your Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I was so excited to be in Edinburgh.
Well
Like,
rested,
so great,
excited.
so cool up here. You know? And you were like, I wanted to die. Everyone on the third week was at their worst.
And you're like, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to go to a bar and hang out? And you're like, bars are where sadness happened. You're like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if the whole town had gone to a club and stayed out till 5 a.m. and at 6 a.m. I showed up and was like, time to get up.
Yeah.
Up and at 'em.
Yeah. Anybody want to get brunch? No, it's funny. I remember the first week I got there, I was just still, I was tired from touring because I had been touring Europe and the Middle East, but like I was getting up at 7 and I would go do yoga, and then I would go do like afternoon shows. Then I would do my show. Then I would do my late show. And then the second week I was starting to get tired. So then I'd be getting up at 9 and I'd take a 9 o'clock yoga class, and then I would do everything. And then by the third week I would like try to take, there was a noon class and I would try to take it, but I couldn't, I like physically could not get out of bed.
Yeah.
And then I gave up on yoga by the fourth week, clearly.
Yeah.
I remember this so clearly because my buddy came over and we were just hanging out, and he was watching me pack. It was 4 days before the festival's over. He's like, why are you packing? I was like, I want to go immediately. Like as soon as it's over, I want to be ready. Like I was literally like living off like 2 outfits because I was like, I just want to be packed. It makes me feel safer and happier knowing that it's going to end soon.
Yeah. My first time in Edinburgh, I was doing a week show, and there was some issues with the venues. That it's a long, boring story. I don't want to get into. It was a big deal over here that like whoever was running the venues, something happened. So we got moved to a different venue that wasn't quite a venue yet. And they were these arches underneath, like by the train station, underneath a bridge. That nobody had ever heard of, and like it wasn't easy to get foot traffic because like not a lot of people walk down that way or whatever. And a lot of comedians were put out because it wasn't their venue had changed. They'd already printed their millions of flyers that you need to print, and like they'd already put money into it and all that. So it was a big deal. And I show up. It was just a week-long show. I still didn't know what I was doing. I was still very nervous. And I remember I took a picture of it when I got there this time, because now they're like beautiful retail stores. Like there's glass fronts and there's a salon, and I'm like, this is not what I was in.
I was in a rat's
dungeon.
cage.
And the first show of mine got canceled because they had found human remains in their digging. So they had to deal with that.
What?
Yeah. I don't know if they were old remains or like recent
remains.
Yeah.
The last Edinburgh show.
Yeah.
This is what happens if you don't make money. They kill you. Nobody tells you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my last day got canceled because they hadn't ordered enough power for, like, it was done by generator and they didn't reserve it for the last day. And so the generator company came back to take away the power. And so there's no power. I don't know. It was a fucking mess. And I'm glad that wasn't my first like full month, you know.
Everything that can go wrong goes wrong. I have my own went wrong story. Like, it's just so funny to hear where you're just like, oh, that seems like it was pretty good. You just had remains and you couldn't perform the last day because you didn't have power. That sounds like you had a great run. Like, it's just like everybody, that would actually be like a great, what do you call it? Like when somebody writes down history, it sounds like a history book, but like everybody does like an oral history of like everything that went wrong with their Edinburgh show. And it's like a thing that like people listen to before they decide to do it.
Yeah.
Because, and I feel grateful because like when I was getting ready to do Edinburgh, I like interviewed all my American friends and all my British friends. Cause the British friends are like in a cult and they just like, well, you have to do it. So since you have to do it, and they give you pretty good advice for somebody that's in a prison of having to do it. And then you ask the American people and they're like, I would never do it again. It was awful. And they give you some real like intel of somebody that chose to do it and how they felt misled. And then you kind of put that together. And I felt pretty prepared. Like everything that went wrong, I was like, yeah, I was told this would go wrong. When I cried, it was exactly when my friends told me I was going to cry. Like it was like, I didn't feel both the good and the bad. I didn't feel surprised because I was told on both ends. And then Tom Deacon, British comic, he gave me the best advice of just like have your goals set and have them be like, know what you're going out there for. Don't be in this fantasy world where like, I'm going to win Edinburgh and I'm going to be the queen of comedy. You just have to go in there and be like, okay, these are the things that I hope to accomplish. And I was accomplishing them within the first week. And I was like, all right. So by the time I started crying, like by the third week, I was like, but I accomplished my goals and I'm crying on time. Like it really was like, I felt very proud of my research.
Yeah. And I didn't do any of that research.
You were digging. You were just like, whose remains are these? And is this part of do I not have to pay for my venue now? Okay. You want to get into announcements?
Yeah.
Thank you to all our Patreons, everybody that supports us. We are beyond grateful. If you don't know, you can get early access to episodes. You can get weekly bonus episodes. You can get monthly bonus episodes. You can get stickers. You can become a Google guest. You can control our Googles. There's so many beautiful benefits to supporting our podcast. And we appreciate everybody that already does so. But you can go to patreon.com/2nondoctors. That's the number 2 non-full word doctors.
Yeah, and you can follow us on the socials. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at 2non-doctors. That's the number 2 full word doctors. And then you can follow us on Instagram. It's 2non-DRS. And if you have time and you're feeling nice, please leave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts because we love it and we share it with everyone and it makes us happy. And thanks for all the reviews you've left so far. They've been really nice. My album's out. You know this, but do you know this? I don't think you know this. Not enough of you know this. It's out. You can get it on iTunes and Apple and Deezer. And if you want to, you can support me on Bandcamp. It's mariashahada.bandcamp.com. But yeah, listen to it, share with your friends, tell people about it. If you want to rate me on Apple, you can do that too. I wouldn't hate that.
Did you say I hate that?
No, I said I wouldn't hate that.
Oh, okay. I was just like, I hate that, but you can do that if you choose. No, all those ratings and stuff help. So go buy her album, rate it, say nice things, tell your friends about it. All that stuff helps. It's a great album.
Thank you.
Instantly one of my favorites.
Oh,
it's true. You as a person as well. My announcements, for the third time, Sunnyvale, California has canceled.
Oh no.
It's so annoying. It's like almost hilarious at this point. Because I kept asking my agent, I was like, hey, it's like a month away. It's like a month and a half away and I don't have my ticket link. I was like, and I made the mistake the first time I bought my plane tickets. And luckily I got like a credit for them. But like, I was like, I just now know, like, I'm not buying my plane tickets. I don't even have a ticket link. And he was like, yeah, they canceled again. And I was like, shocking. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. Sunnyvale's not too far from San Francisco, and I will be in San Francisco in August. But coming up, I am in Vegas. I am in a bunch of places in Michigan. I didn't write it down. I'm in DC at some point. It's all on my website. Everything's on my website.
This is the Maria approach.
Yeah, I did a full Maria.
Shows. I don't fucking know.
You guys, LizMailey.com. You know about the internet. But I'm already editing my special. It's looking good. So hopefully I'll have more information about that in hopefully a month. And fan mail. Okay. Do you have it up or?
No, I didn't do any. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what's going on.
Are you pausing it to look for it?
You would think so. Hold on a second. I got it. Okay, so this comes from B. Hi, Maria and Liz. Love your podcast and all your work. Thanks for putting in the time and effort. Smiley face. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Thanks for thanking us because it means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
This week's topic reminded me of a class I took last term on families and societies at Portland State University. We learned about the interconnections between members of a family and how their role is defined mostly by the culture they live in. In the US, a lot of cultures treat children as the sole responsibility of their parent or parents, almost like property. Really, they are people and are cared for and influenced by an unimaginable amount of other people to some degree, even if the first few moments of even in the first few moments of their lives. It sounds like a lot of people are interested in what they think having a kid will mean for them, but don't talk much about whether they want to introduce more lives into their culture or what putting more people into your culture may mean to the world. Are you sure we want to create more people to support a system that doesn't take care of us right after we birth them? Yeah, like that was like, sorry, well, I'll just finish it. And then basically what I'm saying is that a lot of us are selfish because we were raised to be selfish because our cultures usually reward selfishness. And it shows with how we talk about having kids. And it's kind of fucked up when you think about it. Anyway, she put in a bunch of A's and I thought I would do it. It's honor. Thanks for reading this. And I hope you keep making stuff and doing talks and comedy. Best wishes, B. P.S. Do a show in Portland.
Oh, working on it. We're all working on it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
If you're out in Portland, you should check out Andrew Slater. He's awesome.
Yeah. Andrew Slater is wonderful. He actually, when I was in Portland, like about a year ago, he opened and he's brilliant. And he has an album out. Let's get
called
buy
Rockstar.
everybody's album. Yeah. Buy everybody's album. He's great. He's genuinely one of the best writers out there.
He was great.
I loved this email. I mean, it's multi-layered. You were to say something right off the bat.
I was just gonna say that's what you were talking about with like our like in the United States, our culture doesn't support having a baby. Like it doesn't give us the childcare we need or the time off or anything like that. We are
the only developed country that you get no time off.
Yeah.
You get no paid maternity leave.
Yeah. And so
you might have a company that does it, and that's a nice company, but it's not mandatory in this country for you to get maternity leave.
Right.
As a woman, you are raised that you shouldn't be by yourself, that you need to be cautious. You need to take, you know what I mean? There's all this, like something bad might happen to you. Be careful. So you're like, okay, so I'm being careful. Then they're like, whoever you date, whatever that is, woman, man, whatever, whoever you date, make sure that they take care of you, whether it's financial, whether it's but like you're now a unit, make sure you're taken care of because nobody else is going to take care of you. So like, they're almost like we're raised a little bit to be clearly more financially independent, but there's this little bit like even my dad, who has raised me very much to be an independent person and to be financially independent, is still like, where's your partner? Where's the person that's going to take care of you? But then when you add a child to the mix, now it's like, all right, you have to do everything you can to take care of this child. But if you are not financially independent, if you as a unit are on the kind of same page or whatever, this thing can drown you, literally drown you. And I don't think people understand that that's somewhat how I look at a child. This could financially, emotionally, and like, I don't, there's more to it, but like, physically drown you where no one else is supporting you, that if you are not in the right headspace, financial situation, great work environment, good partner, this could literally drown you. And then people are like, why aren't you going to have a baby? And you're like, I still have swimmies on. I barely have a savings account. Like, are you crazy? And then people get mad at you. But like, so you're the, the whole point of having babies from a government standpoint is because capitalism needs more people. More people makes more money, which makes capitalism keep going. So Europe literally pays women to have kids in the sense that you get paid. We have a little bit of like a tax, it's a little bit like tax deduction or whatever, but it doesn't kind of make up for it. So we're now going the other end where we're trying to ban abortion so women will have kids, but there's no support. You're just having women drown with their kids, and then you're having kids that aren't wanted or not supported or not fed. And it's just like everything about it just makes me kind of crazy. And everybody's on this page, by the way. I don't think anybody's just like, oh, really? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, but it's, I think what's upsetting is from a cultural standpoint, you have that kind of traditional naggy family that's just like, when are you going to have kids? And you're just like, I don't have the same setup that you have. There's no guarantee. Like the pandemic has shown even the people that took the traditional working path of having a job for the same job for 40 years. That's just not there anymore. Even people with good jobs lost their job during the pandemic, and some are actually still struggling. It's weird to be creative and be like, I actually did all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was scary for a bit, but I did okay. And I was able to use resources, but it's just not the same environment anymore. And I'm not going to have a thing so that hopefully it takes care of me in 40 years. I don't know if I can take care of it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that had kids in the last 2 years and wanted to have kids and are excited about having kids. And that's awesome. And many of them are in the right financial. And I know that sounds weird to be like, well, there's tons of, like, my dad, here's a good example. My dad's always the person that was like, and it's actually been very helpful, but he goes, when you need the money, you find the money. And that was always an example of, as somebody that had 5 kids and we didn't have
the difference is that like for me, it's like when I want to shoot a web series.
Yes.
When you want to shoot a special, like we find the money.
Absolutely. And his example was, I remember Greggy got really sick. Greggy was a really sick baby. And, we figured it out. Like, it's, if you need the money, you find the money. And there's tons of people that, they have a child and they end up having a child that has a lot of issues and they have to pay for it. When you need the money, you find the money, but like, you shouldn't have to find the money to raise a kid. We should be in a place that we take care of it, whether it's universal health care, whether it's just the fact that when you have a kid, we support this kid. But I think on a broader level, as just women that don't have kids for personal reasons, I mean, I don't want to have something just to have something. Yeah. I don't want to have something like, there's somebody that's like, what if you regret it? And you're like, that's something I'll deal with, but there's nothing in this present moment that's saying I would regret
ways. What if I have a kid and regret it? Like, that's
absolutely
worse.
And there are articles like, my friend that had a kid, she actually read a bunch of articles about women that had a kid and regretted having a kid, just to kind of have the balance before she had a kid. And I was like, that's great. But like, I have always known I never want to be an accountant. And nobody's like, but what if you regret it? What if you have all those numbers? It's just like, it's so weird that with parenthood, and maybe because hormones are involved, people are like, well, what if you regret it? And I was like, but I've never wavered, ever. It's never been a moment. And I like kids. Like, that's the funny part about you telling the story at the beginning, is you're like, I'm not the best with kids. I was just hanging out with my friend and her daughter, who's 3 months old. And she's like, oh my God, you're so good. And I was like, yeah, man, I did this. I'm good at this. I actually like this for an hour. But there's, even when I'm having fun with a child, there's nothing pulling at me saying, I want this. It's just like, oh, this is fun. The same way that I might go to a trampoline park and I'm like, this is fun, but I'm not going to go every day. It's exhausting.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, even things that I enjoy, I don't want to do them all the time. I've had too much sugar. It starts to get like filmy. It doesn't feel good. You want to brush your teeth. Like, I don't know, I'm being silly, but I don't know. I do think there's an unruly amount of pressure, and they never say that to dudes. What if you regret it?
Because we are the ones with the time clock. Like, it's just like 45, probably not having kids. So you have to decide, like 45, 50, 55, 75 guys can have kids at whatever age. So there's no, like, what if you regret it? It's like, well, you just find a girl you can impregnate.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like time runs out, and then I'm 60 and I'm like, ah, fuck. Oh, God damn it.
Oh man, I didn't look at the clock. I was supposed to have kids 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. It is hard because you don't really trust, like, whatever my taste was when I was 20 is totally different now, or like, I don't know what I'm going to like or want or whatever, but I can't have a baby just because I'm like worried that I'll regret it later in life,
Yeah, it's an 18 and plus commitment. I haven't changed much. That's the craziest part about it, is like, I've grown and stuff like that. But what I enjoy, I mean, I still collect lunch boxes. Like, this is my art taste. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I actually haven't changed. How I developed and how I connect with people, absolutely. But my taste and what I want to do with my time, it was actually when I posted about my 20th comedy anniversary, my friend Amanda was like, it's so impressive. Like, you knew as a teenager what you wanted to do and you just did it and you're still doing it. And I was like, I still love it the same way I did when I was a teenager. Like
Yeah.
that's a pretty good foundation to know what you like and don't like.
Yeah.
And I knew as a teenager I didn't want kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for writing.
Thanks, B.
I get so angry at this topic. Googles.
Yeah.
Mine's a silly Google.
Yeah, you should go first. There's something I was forgetting. Damn it. Go on.
Is it okay to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So mine's a little silly. Mine is, what's the best way to avoid pit stains?
Okay.
And this is the thing I bought, and it's not even, I just bought I bought some crop tops. Used it for like a half hour because it was warm for like half a day 2 weeks ago. But I bought these white tops at Target. They were $5, but I'm very much like, when I buy something, I want to keep it forever. I didn't even realize with like fast fashion, most people don't keep their clothes very long. Like they said, a way to like help with fast fashion is keep your clothes for over 9 months. And I'm like, I have shirts from middle school. Like that's crazy. Like I'm not, I when I keep something, I keep it forever. So like these,
I always thought the problem was with fast fashion, it was made so cheaply, it just fell apart after a while. I don't know how you did that, but well done.
Yeah, well, anything I care about, I'll air dry. And then I do read labels, and I don't know. And I haven't grown at all. Yeah. But yeah, so I bought these white Target shirts for $5 each, but I love them. And I'm like, I want to keep them forever already. And I was like, I'm gonna figure this out, because that's the only reason I wouldn't buy white stuff, is because you get pit stains and you're just like, what the fuck?
I just bought this like long white dress in the back here.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful, but it like grazes because I'm really short, so I think it's supposed to be
ground.
Yeah, and so like I'm afraid to wear it now. Plus, I get stains immediately on like I'll get ketchup stains when I'm like I haven't eaten ketchup in like 2 weeks. Like, how did that happen? And I don't know what I was thinking with this white dress, but I was like, this is definitely something to do.
You're insane. But do you know what I've done? I carry shout wipes. I don't know if you have them. I'll mail them to you.
Mail them to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep them everywhere.
Where do you get that? Where do you get that from? I
just
think
like
your mom, she sends you quarters in the mail.
Yeah. So it's CVS. I just get a box of them, and then I just kind of put them everywhere the same way that I put like chapstick and pads and stuff. Like I just kind of, me, I always have everything. But I was on a plane once, and I was sitting next to a mom and her teenage son, and he was wearing a white sweatshirt, and he looks down and he goes, oh man. And he has like, I don't know, like a coffee stain he has, or a soda stain, he has something. And the mom was like, didn't you just get that? And he's like, yeah. And I take out this shout wipe, and they both look at me and they're like, oh, like, I was like, yeah, man, like it really helps. Like all that being said, I bought a white sweatshirt, and I don't know when I got the stain or how I got the stain, but it is there and it's not going away. And now it's my home white sweatshirt. It's just like one of those shitty sweatshirts will never see the light of day.
Oh.
Anyway, because that's the other thing is, if you do get a stain, don't dry it. Once you dry it, it sets the stain. There's still hope if you don't dry it.
But I mean, how do you not? Okay. You mean
so you get a stain,
dryer?
Yeah, just air dry. But that's the thing. I didn't know about the stain before I dried it. Okay. So this is what they say on how to avoid pit stains. Wear sweat-proof shirt. That's go fuck yourself. I'm not wearing a shirt under a shirt.
Yeah.
Apply less deodorant. So they're basically saying that sometimes putting too much deodorant or not letting it dry can contribute to it. Basically, because what they were saying is it's the aluminum mixed with the bacteria, which is making the pit stain.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing to know. Reevaluate your antiperspirant. Okay. I don't even know what that means. Trim or shave your armpit hair. I think that has to do with the bacteria. Take sweat reducing supplements. I was like, all right, it's not that bad of a situation.
Seriously.
Launder your shirts right away. So that was the other thing they were saying, is because these pit stains are coming from the bacteria mixing with the sweat, that if you spray it and wash it right away, that can really avoid it. And that there was this, everybody was talking about this Raise anti-pit stain spray or whatever, but it's like out of stock everywhere. I was like ready to get it. I was all about it. Assess your diet. They were basically saying, hot foods make you sweat.
Yeah.
So don't eat hot foods. And they're like, have you tried watermelon? It was really dumb. wear loose fitting clothes. Clearly that's not going to happen with my cute tank top, or not tank top, my crop top. And then use all natural deodorant and let it dry. So I think the biggest takeaway I learned from this was that it's the aluminum mixing with the bacteria, and that if I kind of spray it and wash it right away, that it should hopefully prevent it. Which it did not do.
I feel like in a previous Google or something we've previously done, I learned that your salt intake affects the yellow pit stains that happen on your white shirts.
Really?
So did that not come up at all for you? I thought that might come up.
It didn't. Even in the diet thing, it was just talking about eating spicy foods making you sweat. I'm not saying this was the greatest website either. It was already like, have you tried an anti-sweat shirt? And you're like, yeah, no, why would I do that? But I think what I pulled away from this is that I do have some natural deodorant, but I don't really like it. I don't feel like it does anything.
Doesn't do anything. What about the one that like your sister recommended to me? Not because I'm smelly, but it's Arm & Hammer.
Naive? Oh, I don't know.
It's so good. I love it a lot. I think it's great.
All right, I'll look into it. I have
ask your sister about it. I think there's a picture. I think.
Okay. What did you Google?
Oh, the problem is I didn't Google anything. So I'm going through my old history, and some are really boring. Like, are frozen peas good for you?
I really think you could tell how old we are by half our Googles.
Well, like there was a point where because I didn't have any vegetables because I was leaving for Edinburgh, but I needed something green in my food. So I was like, well, I'll just put these peas in it. But I'm like, what do peas do? They're so tiny.
That was your thought? What do peas do?
What do peas do? They contain nutrients include, I don't like the way. Okay, first of all, this is Bird's Eye, which is like a frozen pea company. And secondly,
I don't trust their shit.
They wrote they contain nutrients include vitamin C, folate, and vitamin B1. And as soon as the website like it has a grammatical error, it's lost all credibility for me. So let's find the next one. Wideopeneats.com. Peas are known for being an excellent source of vitamin C, vitamin A, B vitamins. I got sick of saying vitamin first. Calcium and antioxidants. And these health benefits do not diminish with freezing. They actually say, yeah, it's the same thing you always know about frozen vegetables. It's like because peas are like picked and then they're like blanched and frozen early or something. I don't know if they're blanched. I might have made that up, but they're frozen early. So they keep all their nutrients like at the height of their nutrientness. Canned peas are worthless, so don't bother. But I don't know anybody who eats canned peas.
I don't know anybody who eats canned peas, but yeah, I think I knew that about frozen, which is that if they're frozen at the right time, they actually can hold.
Can be more healthy. Yeah. And this one says peas are a good source of vitamin C and E, zinc, and other antioxidants that strengthen your immune system. Ugh.
You know, it's something I did know about peas, like when you are trying to like take sugar out of they're very sweet. Like they're sweeter. Yeah. And that's why I was like, yeah, that's why they're delicious. And they're just like, yeah, they're a little sweet. And you're like, come on, man, it's a vegetable. Let me have my sweet vegetable.
They're sweet little pops of joy.
A good pea, man.
Oh. I love a good pea.
You know what I used to do in college when I was like trying to eat more vegetables? I would literally just take like a frozen bag of peas and I would make a bowl of peas, put some salt and butter on it and just like eat a bowl of peas.
When I was little, I used to make like the flaked mashed potatoes, you know, you just add like water or whatever. And peas, and I just eat those, just mix those up and eat them.
It's awesome. We're the same person.
You would put ketchup all over yours.
I would not.
Yes, you would have.
You're not crazy. You're gross. Ketchup, I only use ketchup when ketchup is needed. It's not needed for mashed potatoes. It's like a butter vehicle.
Yeah. I like the logic. That. All right.
Let's get personal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If there was a solution to your anxiety, what would it look like?
I don't think I understand it.
Okay. The way I interpret this, because I actually really like this question. The way I interpreted this question is what would it take to not feel your anxiety? So honestly, my solution would be everyone gets back to me immediately and everyone has to be honest with me. So what that would solve is I don't do well between the like, you know, hey, Maria, do you have time to talk? In that you hate me. Doesn't matter if it's a minute or 2 hours. I'm like, oh, she's mad at me. And then if everyone has to be honest, I would never know if somebody doesn't like me or if somebody isn't mad at me. Because that's what the anxiety is. The anxiety is this, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how people feel about me. So the solution is, as soon as I text, I get a text back immediately. And I always know how people feel. And I don't have to guess. Because isn't that what I'm doing in my anxiety, is I'm always searching, like, oh, her eyes, she looked away for a second. Why'd she look away?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And that would probably help you out a lot. That's so funny, because my first instinct with this question is like, what does it look like? I'm like, isn't that just like 2 glasses of wine? Like that's
yeah, maybe it is.
And then you're like, oh, it's if everyone got back to me and didn't lie to me ever. I'm like, whoa, and like, so with that kind of line of thought, I would think that whatever I thought of myself and my work was all that mattered to me. So yeah, I like that joke. I like that.
That's such a healthier solution than mine. It's so funny, because mine's like, everybody has to do what I want them to do and they're honest. And you're just like, oh, I just believe in myself.
I know, but I only got there because of yours. Because my first solution was alcohol.
Touche, valid point. No, you're right. Like, I mean, the real solution to my anxiety is I don't give a fuck what people think.
Yeah.
And I get there. There's good days and bad days with that.
Totally. Oh God. I'm trying to get a lot better about, like, every time I post on Instagram, I'm going, this is stupid. Everyone thinks it's stupid. Everyone's unfollowing me, which, to be fair, some people do. And everybody thinks I'm a fucking idiot, moron, stupid head. And then I go, do you like it? I'm like, I like it. That's why I posted it. And then it's just like, so just imagine Instagram is just like your diary that other people have access to, and just worry about what you think of it.
First of all, that's lovely. And that's so true. And that's actually how I've always dealt with my craft, is if I like it, then that's one person that likes it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just kind of have to hope that other people like it. And I'm not saying there's not a learning curve from it, or an understanding or a polishing of things, but because clearly I have a fear of people not liking me, or a need for approval. That's how we got into this, and it's morphed and shifted. But what hasn't ever stopped me from putting my stuff out there is exactly what you're saying, is I like it. The path forward is taking the risk to see if other people like it. And I did it. I just did it. Like, just that kind of throwing it to the wind. Doesn't mean the anxiety isn't there after I do it, but that's gotten less and less and less.
But that's exactly what you need to do. And that's exactly what I haven't done in so long, is that, because I'm afraid of what people will think. And I'm only now starting to put my stand-up out there, and just because I'm like, but it gets to the point where it's like, it's too painful to stay in place. So it's like more painful to stay in place than it is to just put my shit out there, move forward or not move forward or whatever. But like, the more I do it, the more I kind of go, it's too tiring to keep worrying about what other people are thinking. I'm tired of caring. So it's like, I like it. And that's all that matters now, just for the sheer fucking just fatigue of always giving a fucking shit. Like, I'm tired of it,
No, I think there's such a great lesson in that. You know what I mean? That it's actually more painful to constantly being like, oh, what is this person that, oh, what if this, when you're just like, fuck it. Yeah. Like, there is so much growth and beauty to just a fuck it response.
Yeah.
And not I don't care, because you care because you put the effort into something, but I don't know. That was one of the things, because I knew the path forward with stand-up was people seeing it, I was able to override the anxiety of approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's like, but what if people don't like it? And you're like, yeah, but that's the risk we have to take. You know what I mean? Like, it would just, like, I do have more pause in some areas, I think, with people misinterpreting my stuff in a way that I didn't have when I was younger, but I still go, you know what? I worked really hard on this, and I worked very hard to have the wording be exactly what I want it to be. And there's always going to be some level of misinterpretation that I also have to trust that if 1% of people misinterpret it, it doesn't override the 99% of people that enjoy it and like it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I saw that question on the internet and I just liked it.
Yeah, I like it. Good one. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You ready for our topic?
Yes.
This came out of, I think we were doing a bonus when we decided to do this. Emotional labor. It's a term I really only started hearing about, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. I was opening for Hari Kondabolu. He wanted to go get drinks with a friend of his after a show. And she was a woman that was writing a book about emotional labor. And I was like, you know, when you pretend to understand something, because like he's super smart, she seemed really smart. I was like, yeah. And then as they kept talking, I was like, I don't know what this is. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm really lost. I was like, I just feel like I went to the advanced class and I definitely should be in the intermediate, like the earlier. What's interesting about it is that what I originally thought it was, it's something different from what it started out as, and then it's kind of morphed. So can I do the original definition and the new definition and then we'll jump into it? Yeah. Okay. So it was coined by a sociologist, Arlie Hochschild, in 1983 from her book, The Managed Heart, The Communalization of Human Feelings, refers to a situation where the way a person manages his or her emotions is regulated by a work-related entity in order to shape the state of the mind of another individual, such as a customer. So the examples would be a manager asking a server to put on a smile. Another example, a more harsher example, would be an employee forced to like swallow their feelings about like a racist or sexist comment in the workplace. So it's where you have to manage your feelings for the greater good or for this customer. Then, and it's supposed to, like, she did it all about like capitalism, like that's how it was originally, but it's really kind of morphed into how we talk about relationships. So it's morphed into the invisible and often undervalued work involved in keeping people comfortable and happy. So in the broader, you know, in the original sense, it's about keeping the customer happy. And then in the kind of newer definition or extra definition, it's about who you keep happy, how you keep the person happy in your relationship and all the work that goes into it.
The thing about emotional like labor that I was reading up on is that everything, it almost feels like everything can be construed as emotional labor. It's like when I was in Edinburgh, my friend was in town from Stockholm, and you know, she asked me to find a reservation for dinner. You know, in her defense, she had recommended a place, but I vetoed it, and so it was on me. But like, and some of the examples I was reading about that would be like an example of emotional labor, and it's like it's not really emotional labor, because emotional labor.
So the issue isn't emotional labor. Everybody's doing emotional labor. It's who has the brunt of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If we both show up at an office and we have a project we're doing together and I do most of it, I'm doing most of the labor. The problem isn't that we're both doing labor. It's the problem that we're probably getting paid the same amount and I'm doing 80% of the work and you're doing 20%. So the same thing with emotional labor. It's okay that we're both doing labor. You had a bad day and you want me to listen. That's totally fine. But if I have a bad day and you don't listen, now we have a problem. Now I'm the one that's taking on all the emotional labor in the relationship and you're not doing any. So I think it's the mismatch of emotional labor as much as the fact that emotional labor is a part of a relationship. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with emotional labor. It's when it's overlooked as not seeing real and when the brunt of it falls on one person predominantly.
But like some people call some things emotional labor that aren't emotional labor. So what I wanted to do was because there was a Slate article that came out, because emotional labor kind of came up in 2018 and everybody was talking about it. Yeah. Then everything got like just the way everything's a trigger now. Like don't trigger me.
Everything's gaslighting. Everything's a trigger.
Exactly. Yeah. So then this person wrote an article like what isn't emotional labor, and they kind of broke it down. There's a definition that I liked. It's like emotional labor is when someone feels the need to suppress their emotions. So if you work in the service industry and then you always have to have a smile on your face, like you're suppressing your emotions, that's emotional labor.
Yeah.
In one of this Harper's article, this girl, is it Gemma or Gemma? I never know with these names.
I don't know. I'm not the person.
She describes the rage she feels about noticing a box that her husband got out and is still out days later. She feels very real emotions about the box and what it represents, but feeling emotions about the failure of someone else's domestic labor is not the same as doing emotional labor. What might follow is an argument in which she hardly performs emotional labor to make her husband feel better about this oversight. Do you know what I mean? So it's not about the box, because that's like him not doing his domestic labor. But if they have an article, like an argument,
Yeah.
and she wants to make him feel okay, but she's actually raging, then that's
No,
emotional
no, no.
labor.
Protecting a male ego is a part of emotional labor. I mean, I think that's where it really comes up, is that
Yeah.
you're having an argument, and in that argument, you have to suppress exactly what you want to say because you can't bruise that person's ego. That's
Yeah.
absolutely emotional labor, and that often falls on the woman because we're not. At no point are you supposed to bruise a man's ego, even when they are the one that did something wrong.
Right. Right. And then she says, like, arranging office happy hours isn't emotional labor, it's clerical labor. Because she's basically taking like examples from other articles and going, that's not an example of
Yeah.
emotional labor. Explaining to the world why unmarried women can't be left out of this conversation. You see where this is going. She said that feeling of exhaustion that courses through you when you have to educate someone about something you expect would be common sense and self-apparent, that's called educational labor. That's like really what we do.
Yeah. This is educational labor is, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's also being compensated for. So like if I'm a waitress and my whole job as a waitress is you order food and I deliver the food, that's labor.
Yes.
I get paid to do that.
Yes.
But when the manager asks you to smile, that's the emotional labor. That's not I'm not being paid to smile. That's not, I now can't fully be myself. That's where
it's like on Office Space when he's like, where's your flair? And she's like, oh, you told me to just have 11 pieces of flair. And he's like, yeah, but you see that person over there have 26 pieces of flair. Then you should tell me to wear 26 pieces of flair.
Yeah. Yeah. But they want you to go the extra. They want you to be perky. They want you to be excited. And you're like, but that's not, I now have to be a completely different person to serve fries. Like, why is that? That's not being compensated. And again, that goes back to, if you're being sexually harassed in the workplace and you can't say anything because you might get fired, I mean, that's a part of emotional labor. I can't even be who I want to be, and I can't fight back because there's consequences to it.
Because, like people of color, women of color, especially, like have to suppress their emotions because they don't want to be seen as like angry or whatever. Like Serena Williams, I think the example used was Serena Williams yelled at a referee that he was, I wish I knew for sure, like he was blind or like whatever. She kind of went off on a ref, and then he penalized her for it. But if it happened to a white male tennis player, nothing would have happened. And so everybody like got upset online, and they gave their own accounts of having to like suppress their own emotions. And they say that people of color, people with disabilities, often have to deal with emotional labor. I know you're about to go into a point, but I'm just talking.
No,
I can't have a lot of coffee.
No, do what you gotta do. It's totally fine.
I feel like, because I've just taken a train, took a train up to Edinburgh and back 4.5 hours. I feel exhausted after a train ride. Whenever I'm on a plane or a train, like, I don't know if that's just like everyone feels that exhausted, but I feel like mentally cannot fucking deal because of my misophonia. I feel like just everything that like people's dings of phones and like baby was screaming behind me almost the whole time. Like, if someone's chewing gum or if I'm worried someone's going to chew gum or if, just like there's always like there's so much like noise coming at me in a confined space where I can't leave that I feel drained after. And maybe everyone feels drained after a train ride.
In some sense, because we're all trying to behave, but I think it's 10 times worse for you because of your misophonia. I also, this is my interpretation. So correct me if you're wrong. In that sense, that is just the basic labor you have to do to be in society. I think what it is when it's, let's say it's you and Johnny on a train and Johnny's clicking a pen and you go, hey, you gotta not click that pen. You know what I mean? Like then this is a relationship. That might not even be emotional labor. That's just whatever. But I think emotional labor always has to do with the relationship. I don't think it's the general public aspect of it because we all
no, because you agreed that like somebody in the service industry is performing emotional labor when they have to pretend to like be happy and smiling.
But that's
And
because they're being paid. That's because it's about capitalism, and it's forced on them, or they're going to lose their job.
yeah.
Like, I mean, and I could be wrong with this. I don't know. In my mind, you not freaking out at somebody on a train because they're coughing, or, or chewing gum or something. I don't know if that's,
Yeah, but it's not about me not freaking out at them. That's me suppressing like what I'm feeling inside.
yeah.
Which isn't to, oh, I want to show them what's what. It's like, it's just like the disgust of it and the rage and like
I mean,
like
if you look at the invisible and often undervalued work involved in keeping other people comfortable and happy, I mean, the truth is I guess you're keeping that train happy by not being yourself. I don't know. I mean, that's where it feels,
yeah, I guess.
it feels complicated.
I,
These are some of the examples that I found, of emotional labor. So, like, it's more often used in a domestic sphere, which is like just needed to keep the household running smoothly. So initiating difficult conversations, managing children's schedule, remembering to send like birthday and holiday cards to relatives, asking for help, sometimes repeatedly, like to empty the dishwasher, to, change the oil in a car. Like, when there's things that somebody's supposed to be doing, and now you have to kind of like nag them. When one partner is doing more of the work than the other, it can be like just like the surefire way of like resent. They actually think unbalanced emotional labor is where most relationships start to fall apart, because
yeah.
everything else can be good. But if like, and it's funny, I've talked about it more and more with friends, where women are the managers of a household and nobody ever gave them that job. Like, it was just assumed. And so you're managing your own life, you're managing your children's life, and you're managing your husband's life. And now it's like, hey, can you go pick up Susie from soccer? Oh, I didn't know I had to pick Susie up from soccer. First of all, she's your child. You should know that she has soccer every Tuesday. I shouldn't have to remind you. And you know what I mean? And that's where people start to rage.
I have a friend who would be like, being like, hell yes, like to exactly what you're saying. And she's a wife and mother, and it's always assumed she will do it.
Yeah. Why am I the only person that knows your child's schedule? We all have the same piece of paper. We all have the same kid that talks. Why is it that my capacity for what goes on in this house is thrown all on me, and I'm the person that's regulating, and then I have to be the nag, or I have to, when he goes, oh, I forgot. Well, you shouldn't forget. It's your fucking child.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the emotional labor starts to like overflow, and people get upset, is that it is just thrown on women to be the manager, when this is a shared child. This is a shared home. It's your dishes too. It's your, you know what I mean? We all eat the food in this house. Why am I the person that's in charge? Especially when everybody's working. It's not like that person's not working.
But sometimes like women take charge though, because they want something done a certain way. I'm generalizing, I guess. Yeah. They want something done a certain way. And that's actually called like maternal something. I want to say maternal labor, but maybe it's because we've been labeling everything labor. But so like you do sit back and let your husband do it, but he doesn't do it to the standard you want.
Yeah.
Then they don't, like, nobody's happy after that,
Yeah. But it's also, so this might be a silly example, because it's always different when you have roommates as opposed to you're married to somebody. But I remember I lived with Chris for 11 years. I'm not saying it was a perfect roommate situation, but I remember he was like, I really hate doing the floors. I'm just not good at the floors. And I was like, all right, we'll take floors off. You don't have to do floors, but you have to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's what he did. He did X, Y, and Z. It was taking out the trash. He had all these other things. He did it for 11 years. That was always his thing. Don't get me wrong. I still sometimes had to nag him, which was annoying, because we all can see that we're piling trash on top of the trash can. You know what I mean? When we start to play Jenga with trash, it's a problem, Chris. And I would refuse to do it, by the way. I would never take the trash out. That was his job. If I'm mopping, you're fucking taking the trash out. So I think, and that's one of the solutions they talk about, is everybody has their tasks. If you really don't feel like you are good at remembering things, then that's something that you discuss. But there's going to be things that you have to take initiative on. There's going to be things that everybody knows when the trash is piled up.
I know, but that's a nice, neat way to kind of resolve that conflict. But like, for instance, I had a flatmate or a roommate, because it was in LA. Like, if I didn't do the dishes right away, she did the dishes, and then sent me a passive aggressive note about it. But it was just like, I was gonna do them. I just didn't do them on your time schedule. And I think that a lot of conflict can come up with that. It's like I'm watching this show called Couples Therapy, and one of the couples, the guy just doesn't do anything, but because she's always nagging him to do stuff or like pushing him, or like she takes charge and there's no room for him. And so he just sits back and like lets her do what she needs to do. And then she gets mad that he doesn't do anything. And then when he does something, it's not right. And
and that's a whole bigger conflict. But I think the truth of the matter is there's a whole other term to it where somebody does something shitty so they don't have to do it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
that believe me, that's my entire childhood. I'm like, how does this mop work? I'm like, it's crazy.
How does raising kids work?
Yeah.
Throwing them up.
They're sticky. No, but like my dad is like this. Like I'll make eggs, like I'll be home, I'll make eggs, and my dad's cleaning the pan. And I go, Dad, I'm not going to eat cold eggs because you want the pan to be cleaned right away. If you let me eat my eggs in 15 minutes, I'll clean the pan. But I am not going to cook. And that's just, and he's just OCD and he's nuts. So he's like, no, I don't mind. And I'm like, whatever, that's not my problem. But in a roommate situation, if it's set that, hey, because like here's an example. We had mice and we had roaches. You do not leave dishes in the sink overnight. We have a dishwasher. There's no reason to leave it overnight. I get during the day, we all have a busy day, but at the end of the day, there's no reason you can't do your 3 dishes. That's insane.
Yeah.
So if the rule is, I don't want dishes overnight, then everybody abides by that rule and it gets done. But if you have an unrealistic rule, like my dad has, which is as soon as you're done cooking, you clean a pan, it's never going to work out because those rules are unrealistic. So in the wife, whatever example, or your roommate example, that's unrealistic. And if you can't come to a compromise, of course, it's going to explode. But the truth of the matter is sometimes when you want somebody else to share the you're going to have to compromise, and it's not going to get done the way you want it to.
Yeah.
And it's going to have to be okay. And I think that compromise is also where people get into issues. And not seeing their own rules. So as somebody that is I'm very much like this. I like things done the way I want them done, but I've also learned to kind of pull back, explain my rules, and then come up with a compromise with the person. But if you can't see that you're being anal or you're being unrealistic, then you're always going to have conflict and you're always going to assume the other person is wrong, which I know you had an old roommate that it didn't matter what you said, you were wrong because there was this is how life is and this is how it works. And you're like, hey man, that's crazy that you think there's one way of doing something.
Yeah. I've been really working on letting go too. Cause like there are certain things I'm like, oh, this is just going to upset me again and again and again. Or I could just, it doesn't matter. Just leave it alone. I don't know.
No, I've had to be similar. And then I've also, like, I had an issue with my special or whatever, and I had to approach it with, hey, this might be very particular to me, but going forward with other comics, maybe you should ask them how they want their audio and whatever to be delivered. Or, you know what I mean? Like some of the mistakes that were made were like, you did this wrong, but some of them I go, this might be particular to me, but I feel like as someone that's done this a bunch, that this is a better way of handling it. Maybe these are some questions you can ask in the beginning so that you don't come to this. Because the other thing is that I know I'm very particular. In 20 years into this business, I'm going to have different requirements than somebody that's been doing it 5 years.
It's so funny because it's like, yeah, like communicating would have solved a lot of issues for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's like just the easier to be like, I'm just not going to say anything because I want to keep the peace. But what I'm going to do is store that in my cells, in my soul. And
I'm not storing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not storing anymore. And then you really start to see why they believe women are difficult when you're just like, I'm done storing. I'm not holding any of this. I'm just in the street being like, I'm not holding this. Like, I refuse to hold this. All right. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear your examples of emotional labor. I would love to hear your solutions of emotional labor in your partnership, in your relationship, at work, what have you. Where can they write to us to tell us this, Maria?
You can write to us at twonon-doctors@gmail.com. That's the number 2, full word, doctors@gmail.com, and write to us. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.